Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Andrew Turner, founder and host of the G&T Sessions podcast. And today we have an amazing guest, Miss Eva Dimitrova. How are you, Eva?
I'm very good. Thank you, Andrew. How are you? Are you in Berlin?
Well, actually, I came over on my helicopter this morning, you see, secretly. No, I'm joking. No, but you see, it's a nice little backdrop, I thought. So obviously I've been to Berlin quite a few times. And obviously it is the kind of tech capital of Europe, I think, isn't it? Is that right?
Yeah, well, I mean, London is a bigger one, but now London is going outside of Europe. So yes, that'll be Berlin.
Bringing that up very early.
Oops,
Where
I'm
are
sorry.
you? Where are you today, then, Eva?
I'm based in Bonn, which is again in Germany. I've been living here for a couple of months only. Before that, I used to be in Düsseldorf, which is another central city in this part of Germany. You have a lot of startups there as well.
Mm-hmm. Great. No, so I mean, I suppose. So how do we find each other? So the little story is, you see, that one day, a while ago, I sent a message on this. Apparently, this is quite a popular social media platform these days. It's called Instagram. And I didn't do any dancing like TikTok. I didn't do a reels or anything like that. I just sent a message, and then to a young lady called Eva Dimitrova, right? Because I saw some stuff on Instagram. I thought, wow, this looks pretty cool. And then the weeks went by, yeah. And then suddenly I got this message popped up, and then what happened there? What was your version of the story then, Eva?
Yeah, basically I saw your message quite late, like 30 days after you sent it, for which I'm so sorry. But it went into this box with message requests, and it somehow didn't show up on my phone. So I only saw it when I went to my desktop.
You're spending too much time on your phone, you see, that's a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
I saw your message, and you invited me for your podcast, and I feel very honored to be here. So thank you very much for that.
It's a pleasure. Yeah, the interesting thing was, so the reason why I was quite interested in what you were doing was because, given the startup experience that I've had, which shall we say I'm still a novice, but I'm always learning, it was very interesting what you were talking about in what you were doing on Instagram. And I know you're going to explain a bit more about that. Because I think that, and obviously in this kind of post-pandemic world or pandemic world, or the new normal, or what we're going to call it, I was looking at some statistics the other day, actually, that the number of new business incorporations has gone up through the roof, and it's like 75% up year on year since the same time last year. So I know that you're going to explain a bit more about what you're doing, but it's interesting that now seems to be the time for getting a great idea and maybe bring it to market. So I know that's kind of something that you may be involved in slightly, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's never been easier to launch a business, and as you said, the statistics just proves it, because the technology just enables people to very quickly take something and bring it to market. The question is, what happens after that? Because when everyone is launching companies and when everyone's saying, we're the best and we can solve this problem for you and you're going to have a happy life, who do you listen to and who do you believe, and how do you even evaluate them? So that's the big question. And actually, many of those companies unfortunately fail because it's just so hard. It's a huge competition, huge market. And with my work, I'm trying to help those companies differentiate in a strategic way. Where do they stand on the market? Who are they competing with? And not simply on the market, but also in the mind of the consumer, who is gonna read the message and who is gonna try to understand. So that's what I'm focusing on, specifically for early stage tech companies. I think it's very important.
And it's interesting because obviously, I don't know if you saw, and I mentioned this on previous sessions, where I remember an article in the London Evening News, I think it was, or Evening Standard, about people many years ago used to come out of university or come out of education and go straight into investment banking. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I saw this thing. It says it's Goldman Sachs or it's Google. Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally, that was the dilemma. Now, if you think about this, the latest, was it Generation Z? I think it is, or Generation Alpha. Like these different generations, these cohorts of different people that we are. I've got two sons who are Generation Z, I think. Yeah, definitely Generation Z or Generation Alpha, probably born in Generation Alpha. So,
are they into technology?
Well, well, that's the thing. So I actually talk to them on Instagram as well, which is quite amazing.
Okay.
They do talk to me as well physically as well at some point, but they spend a lot of time on YouTube and they spend a lot of time on Instagram. They think WhatsApp is so last year. So it's like WhatsApp. What are you using WhatsApp for? It's just,
Yeah, it's a different kind of need
it's
and
quite
different
amazing.
kind
It's
of
quite funny.
atmosphere. Yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, it shows how because they've been born into the time of the internet or the time of all these platforms, then that's just their normal way of interacting, which is quite funny. So yeah, so what gets you up in the morning, and what are you working on these days then? What is in
Yeah.
world?
To be honest, lately the thing that gets me up in the morning is the thought of having a coffee and actually wake up. After that, the thing that really keeps me going is just thinking about how I can use my skills, to my knowledge and what I gathered into helping basically other companies, achieve this right positioning, or find product market fit and start growing in this competitive environment. So that's the thing that really, really interests me. And the other thing is I really love learning. So I'm reading a lot, and I'm following some really insightful people in tech. And when they post every day, I have to read it.
So who would that be then? Who are the people you're following?
There is, I don't know if you've heard about him, Ben Thompson. He has this website, Stratechery. I don't know how to pronounce it. I actually pronounce it Stratechery. I don't know why, like archery. Yeah, so he's a business analyst for tech companies, and he's brilliant. I've been reading him for more than 2 years, and I've learned so much about so many things. Yeah, it's like, for example, him. Or I really like this guy, Dave Trott. He's actually in London. He's art director. He's also brilliant in the creative part. And yeah, I also read 2 of his books.
Oh, you mean like about brand and things like that, and how you...
He used to work in advertising agencies. I'm not sure if he's still working there, but every week he publishes like short stories that are so creative, and they're from real life. It's amazing. Yeah. So I love to read those things. They inspire me and they teach me about new things every day.
So you basically got your own business, and you're kind of working with different companies and trying to help them. I suppose it's the kind of the G&T, it's the G in the G and the G&T, the growth, not the gin and tonic, but the growth, G bit. That's what kind of this that's the kind of area that you're focusing on, is that right? But with tech companies, is it?
Yeah, exactly. In the last years, I've worked with tech companies. For part of it was in the corporate world, part of it with startups. I realized startups are more to my heart, so I decided to move on there, and so now I'm consulting them. And exactly helping them differentiate. But I also I started 2 companies myself. Unfortunately, they didn't make it. But there was a lot of learning. They say either you win or you learn. I like learning, and I especially like learning from my own experience, just going there and doing it. So yeah, I would say I'm an entrepreneur, consultant, like a mixture between the 2.
Right. And so I suppose a quick question based on a bit of that story you just said then was you obviously, I presume you went through an education, and then did you have this kind of like light bulb moment, where you said, I want to be a startup founder, or was it something that else happened? What triggered that going into that experience?
So after university, I went to work in a startup. This was 2014. And I worked there for a year, and I mean, in a startup, you do a lot of jobs at the same time, and you need to constantly learn many things and test and improve and so forth. So I really loved that. And then I decided, well, I have this idea. Shall I start working on it? What can I do? And then I actually was accepted in a startup accelerator. It's called the Founder Institute.
Oh yeah.
And I'm a director there right now here in Germany.
Adio from Founder.
Yeah.
And he's quite a character.
Yeah, their program is just amazing. Even before becoming a director, I've always been a huge supporter of this,
Mm.
because for 4 months basically you get your idea from the idea stage to the MVP stage, and the whole process of development, research, marketing, funding, how to structure everything, it's covered. So this is what I did with my idea back then. And again, I absolutely loved how quickly things went. Like, one day you have an idea, the other day you're already working on it and talking with people about it.
Yeah. You're
So this
doing your
is
customer development, or getting out of
yeah,
the office,
yeah, yeah.
Steve Blank would say. Yeah.
So this is how I realized that this is something I really like, and something that is not how things work in the corporate world, for example. And yeah, it's more or less I decided this is the type of work I want to do.
So did you actually go through the FI process then, the founder institute process?
Yeah. I was accepted as a founder. I went through the program. I graduated.
Okay.
And by the way, very few people even get accepted. And actually, when you're accepted, you can get the boot at some point if you don't do a good job and if you don't perform. So it's if you graduate, it means something for you when you become part of this community. That's
Get the boots.
kind of,
What does that mean?
yeah, like get kicked out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah. So
so what you're saying is not everybody lasts the course. Not everybody
no.
the end of the
Yeah.
course.
There is every 4 weeks or something, there is a session where you get an evaluation and you have homeworks to do every week that get checked and graded. And if you don't do a good job, and if you don't kind of improve your idea, yeah, you get kicked out from the program. I mean, you have a chance to take it another time in the next year.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah.
So they keep a high bar. They keep the
high bar, exactly.
Yeah.
That's very important.
And then so what you're saying is you went through the kind of FI program, and then you graduated, and then that idea you had for a startup that you then took into an operational business. Is that right? Or
yeah, well, kind of. So I graduated, and I was still looking for full-time someone to join my team full-time as a co-founder, because I quit my job for this.
okay.
I jumped with my 2 feet, and I was looking for someone to do the same. I
Okay.
did find people who are willing to do it part-time after work, but ultimately this doesn't work. So at the end, I didn't manage to find people to join me, and well, the idea died out in terms of my execution. But actually, it was picked up later after from Bing, the search engine from Microsoft.
Oh, Bing.
They actually
Yeah.
decided to start working on implementing the exact same thing, which was, good choice for an idea, right? There is a market need there.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're, because I think that's the thing. So it sounds like you were a sole founder.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
was a solo founder.
would you consider yourself, like, well, mine's thing is, usually you have like a business founder and a technical founder. Which one would you say you are?
I'm the business one. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm a business person. I really like technology. I took some introductory courses in JavaScript, or can
Oh, wow.
build myself a website, but I cannot create something, code something. So I need definitely such a person. But on the business side is my strong suit.
Right. Okay. And so the learning from that was that it sounds like the team. So trying to attract and build a team was that the big learning from that, or was what else?
And actually, this is still something to this day that I think is the hardest thing for me, at least, to do. Finding a co-founder, it's like finding a lifetime partner. You're gonna spend 8 hours with this person, and you have to like him. You have to fit in terms of personality, in terms of skill set.
It could be a female, another female founder.
Or her. I mean, but you have to fit very well together, because you're going to go through some very rough patches. And also you need to both be ready to at this very moment just jump in and risk everything, and not so it's very hard to align all those things into one person, and that person is in your network. So this is something that also in my second company I didn't have, and that I think it was a minus. So
so what you're saying is that I think you were touching on was the kind of the phrase of kind of took, like you went all in, you jumped all in, and you were looking for somebody who could be that technical sparring partner, you could say, or technical partner to you're doing the business stuff, they're doing the technical stuff, but you expect the commitment from them as well to jump in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, commitment. Yeah, and tech would be ideal, but even if it's another type of person, it's still something. You're still sharing the load of things. In a startup, it's just an endless list of things you have to do, and you just can only do so much alone. So.
So it sounds like so that was obviously as you said, you don't fail, you learn, yeah. And then so that what happened after that then? Did you then change? Did you pivot?
I mean, yeah, I tried to pivot, but it didn't work out. So I was basically faced with a choice. Okay, are you gonna find now a regular job, or are you gonna continue doing something else, like maybe another startup, or maybe go into consulting or something like that? And I decided to go into consulting, and to keep going kind of solo and keep learning and stay in this learning environment. And this is actually how I came to Germany, because I went to this conference in Vienna, and there I used some guerrilla tactics. I distributed my business cards in the toilets, because guess where everyone goes? In the toilets, and there's no other business cards there. So one manager from Vodafone found it and found me later on the event and said, "Hey, is this your business card?" I was like, "Yep, that's me." And he was like, "Oh, we have this project with chatbots and voice assistants. Do you want to come for 1 month in Germany and just help us out?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not? I mean, it sounds like a great opportunity." So this is how it happened. I came for 1 month to Germany, and then 1 month became 2 months and 3 months, and now I'm here. Yeah. So
that was working for Vodafone in Germany, in Düsseldorf, I presume, because they just
in Düsseldorf, but also in the other Vodafones around Europe. Also in London and in the Netherlands, Spain, and also remotely.
That's like a really good. So it's not lipstick on the mirror; it's business cards stuck to the mirror.
Business cards, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I can confirm this tactic works. So feel free to steal it, everyone.
Yeah, but no, how did you get your business cards in the men's toilet?
You just look when there's no one there, and you quickly open the door, put it in.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, you have to be careful.
You didn't get arrested. Okay,
you go early before most of the people are there, and this is how you do it.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Interesting guerrilla marketing tactics there.
Yeah. Gotta be creative.
So I mean, so you did. So it sounds like you did some work with, obviously, very prestigious company, Vodafone. Yeah, very well known. I mean, I've spent a couple of decades in the telco industry as well. I know quite a few people at Vodafone and a few other non-red coloured telcos. Maybe they coloured blue or other colours. Anyway, so what happened after that, and what did you get? You obviously you went kind of back into kind of, what was that, like a startup ecosystem within, or an innovation play within actually a bigger corporate? Is that?
Yeah, exactly. This is what it was. We were basically, I was not in the core business of the telco. I was in the digital part and the innovations. And basically we were innovating there, like a very small team, very, very agile, just creating this AI chatbots and based on requirements that we receive. And that was an interesting experience, and it was a mixture between corporate and having a startup and kind of building it up within the company. But at the end of the day, it's still a corporate. You still have limitations, which you don't have otherwise. But on the other hand, you have this huge user base pool. You have all the financial support you need, or at least a lot more than if you're on your own. So there were a lot of things that I learned, but ultimately, pure startup is for me the best. So
then after that experience, then that's when you jump back out into your own ocean. Yeah.
Yeah, I worked for 2.5 years with Vodafone, doing projects with Google and Amazon and all those big companies. And then at the end, I thought, okay, it's enough now. Let's go back to where you really belong and where you really feel the most comfortable, but also where you can actually contribute the most, because yeah.
And
So
what was
I
the,
went back, and
what
I
was
actually
the,
took a year to figure out, what is it that I want to do? Do I want to do startup, or do I want to use my skills to consult other startups, which is kind of, you're like a founder for a while because you have to figure out those very important questions.
right.
And I took this year to figure it out, what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it. And now I am doing it.
Oh, yeah. So I was going to say, well, so what was the trigger? You kind of had your, I was actually watching some videos actually of Adam Davidson. I don't know if you know him, the guy that wrote the Passion book,
No.
Passion
No.
Economy, and
but I've heard about the book. Yeah.
yeah. So it's so about what's your niche, and he said that a lot of younger people that he speaks to, they feel the pressure of you've got to find your passion, you've got to find your why, you've got to find your passion. But actually, sometimes it takes a while. It takes, it says it takes years to find out what you actually want to do. What inspires you to get out of bed in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like you spent a bit of time. Well, it sounds like is it right that you felt like you weren't quite working in the area that you wanted to do, but you were learning a lot, but it wasn't quite what you wanted to do. Is that right? Or what was the trigger to leave something like that?
Yeah, I mean, for many people it's the same. They kind of go in some kind of a circle around. They tiptoe here and there, and they learn more about what they want to do, but they're not yet on the spot. I think this is the case for most people, and it's important to do this, let's check this, let's check that, and then readjust the course where you actually want to go. And that's definitely what I did. But regarding passion, I watched a really good video on that. Should you work whatever your passion is? And the key point was, okay, if you really love eating ice cream, should you work as an ice cream test eater or something like that? And the question is no. Just because this is your passion or you absolutely love doing it doesn't mean this is what you should work for. So you should rather focus on the thing that you have the most impact, where you can bring the most value. Usually this is also a thing that you care about a lot. Even if you're not like passionate, like jumping around, it's something that in the long term gives you like produces the biggest result for you and for the others. Yeah, so this is what I've been following. And yeah, of course it takes a while.
Well, no. I mean, I think it's quite interesting when you describe that, because that's partly, as you know from the guest brief for coming on the show today, is part of the reason why I'm doing the G&T sessions, because I think what I reflected on with my background was that I've been involved in lots of growth things, in lots of either helping technology or working in technology companies or using technology to do something on the business side. And actually, you realize that actually if you had learned or been exposed to certain things earlier, you may have gone a different path. But also that I think the things that you learn when it doesn't go, maybe to plan, actually then helps you learn as well. A bit like back to your comment about your failure versus learning. So so it's interesting to hear your version of that. So thanks for sharing that.
So sure. And actually, I think, my journey of figuring out, what I'm good at, what I can bring most value in, it's kind of similar like with a startup. When a startup figures out, okay, I have this, let's say, feature set or skill set in the founders, how do we create value out of this for the others? It's very similar journey, this personal growth with the business growth. They're kind of, it's a try out things a little bit. Yeah.
It sounds like, I mean, it's quite interesting. You've actually articulated, some of the things that was quite interesting. So this thing I would call it, is smooth sailing? Yeah. Like, the seas like this, or is it kind of like choppy water kind of thing? It sounds like you've been through a bit of choppy water, but actually you kind of kept focused and you've kept kind of going.
Yeah. Well, you cannot grow without choppy water, can you? If everything's going great, what are you gonna grow in? So you have to have some problems and some choppy water, and that helps you grow. That gives you the opportunity to grow.
And this, and I suppose the thing is, my other analogy is this kind of peaks and valleys. You've also, obviously, it sounds like you've had some. I mean, I suppose the question is, well, what would you say your peaks have been so far?
Peaks profession-wise, I think they're still to come. The biggest peaks, but actually, really, one of the peak was exactly being succeeding to land this job in Germany in such a way without having, it was like a cold call in a way, and people trusting me enough to invite me, and that this whole thing worked out. This was a huge trust. In terms of valleys, when the first startup failed, and I told you I was wondering, what should I do? In the meantime, I was also running out of money because I quit my job and I was basically living with my savings. And at some point, those savings, I remember the day when I went to the ATM and I basically withdrew the last $20 from there, and the receipt said, yeah, let's say €2 left in your bank account. And I was like, not panicking, but rather this calmness, realization, like, yeah, I only have €2, but if I have to, I'll go back to my mom. But I really feel confident in what I'm doing and comfortable, and I think there is something there. And it might take a while, but what's the worst thing that's going to happen? So that was a bottom that made me realize, there is a peak I need to go to. So that was very, very memorable thing for me.
It's like a defining moment.
Yeah, like a defining moment.
Did you save the receipt?
I saved it.
Yeah, you can put it on the wall. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's starting to lose the ink, but
yeah, take it away from the sunlight. I know there's a lot of sun in Germany.
Yeah.
So I suppose we talked. That's really interesting about talking about your G, and obviously you kind of explained your personal journey with your business journey. On the T side, I mean, it sounds like, I mean, what would you? So some of the guests I've been on before, they've kind of like been deep in the technology stuff for quite a long time, and then some people have just used technology for their businesses or for their lives. Well, what's your view? What's your view of that? I mean, what's your relationship with technology?
Well, as I said, I'm not a tech person in the sense I cannot create technology myself. But I get it. I know how it works. I get the structure behind it. So if someone explains to me, why this is this way, I'm going to understand why this is the way. I wouldn't be able to change it, myself, but I would understand it, and then I might even be able to make some decisions based on that. So this is my relationship with it. But otherwise, I think it's amazing. And technology is just allowing so many people to now have a new reach for information, for like to grow themselves. And it's just an enabler that, that's the reason why we're here today. And there's so many people in the world that are not, there are people that are suffering from, starvation, but there are a lot less than before.
Yeah, I mean, I think I suppose it's this thing about how do you use technology appropriately, and this is, I suppose, tech for good thing, isn't it? Because there's obviously, there's sometimes the perception there's a dark side to it. And I know that there's obviously a lot of media attention on that sometimes as well. But
but tech is just a tool, as you said. You can use it for good and bad things. It is an enabler. It enables growth. It enables people to learn more and produce more and create more and fulfill more. But it also enables, for example, governments to be authoritarian and to block, information and to do bad things. So it's just a matter of how you use it. But I think ultimately, because it gives this freedom of speech, let's say, the both sides are gonna even up and they're gonna balance. That's my view on it. But definitely there are good and bad sides.
Yeah, but I think I mean, the last point about the access to information and freedom of speech, I think there's obviously been some stuff topically on the internet recently.
Yeah.
A certain individual that I know that's based in London, but I'm not going to mention him on this podcast episode. I mean, some people have been delisted from YouTube and LinkedIn and all these kind of things, and it's been an interesting 2020 so far.
It's going to get more interesting in the future, I think. The best is yet to come.
I think you're guaranteed on that one. Yeah, no. So I think the interesting thing. So I mean, I think in terms of your, your kind of dreams. Now that you've kind of so it's like you spent quite a bit of time working out what your mission is, what your purpose, what your why is. What we're now in 2020. Yeah. So what are you thinking? What does ever look like in 2030? The Ever Empire.
Oh, not an empire.
Build your empire.
No, that's too much responsibility. But I would like. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur by heart. So I would like to find people that I can, start a business with at some point. And, that's going to be a great accomplishment. It's going to make me feel very happy that I'm the one who is building and creating something valuable in the world. But other than that, I'm also very happy to be helping others do it and use my skills for the same purpose, in the same way that I would do it for my company to help other people's companies. It still helps bring more into the world. So I'll be happy to do that more and more and help, have a bigger impact on this. But I think in 2030, and I hope I'm going to be having some kids around, like this is the biggest contribution one of the biggest contributions you can have in the world. Like, have a kid, educate the new, it's not, doesn't have to be leaders, but just the new group of people that are going to take the world to a better place. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that. I mean, it's interesting you say about that, about children, because I think I can't remember what the little boy's called, but he's 13 and did a TED talk about, this kind of like growth education hacking, working out, do you have to go down that normal education route that everybody's been through, quite a few people have been through, or do you actually use another way? I need to watch it actually. And
they're very interesting opinions and ideas. And for Elon Musk, for example, he's homeschooling his kids, and many other people are doing that. And I really don't know what's the best. Like, when you homeschool your kids, they don't have the same contact with their group, so they don't socialize in such a way, but they learn other things. So I don't know, but it's a very interesting, I think, journey to be a part of, and I would definitely like to be a part of that. And I think, family education and family values and how you raise up your kids, this is so, so important.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. It's so it sounds like you potentially, not saying that you won't have a wanderlust. You won't, it's like because you've done 2 startups already. You're not saying that you're not saying never. You're not saying never.
No, I hope ever. Yeah, I hope. I hope that I'm gonna, do more startups and successful ones, and yet continue, helping other people one way or another. Because if I'm learning something and I'm keeping it to myself, what use does that have? The idea is to share it with other people and to kind of amplify it and the effects of it. So that's the whole point.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I mean, one of my guests before, she was speaking about this. Find your sticky toffee pudding. So basically, I suppose it's a different way of explaining what your passion is, or your wanderlust. Sounds like you're still on a kind of a voyage of discovery to find that. Maybe come across that next idea and then take that into.
Oh yeah, well, I have ideas. I mean, I even I have one MVP. I have some business plans about some other ideas. I'm just waiting for the right person to come up and to just show him. And so that's not the problem. As I said before, the hard part is finding the people to join you and that you can really share long term this weight with and be with them on this journey. That's the hard part.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a couple that I'm working with, and I've known for quite a few years, that they actually are in a relationship. And they're actually working on a quite an interesting business in the food industry, and also about how people should live in the future. And they're international, and they're kind of working on how they bring even to where you actually building a village, and what the kind of village of the future would be, and how you would leverage the things from nature and from what are the historical learnings of what we should do and apply them to the future. of how you should live and exist and live in certain types of physical building that are more natural and more akin to what the earth should be like. So yeah, they're an interesting couple of people. You know, like they're in a relationship personally, but also working on the business ideas as well.
Yeah, so, that's even more tough.
Yeah, it's kind of compelling.
It's like
yeah. I mean, I suppose one quick question I got with you about. So the stuff you're doing with FI. So you said you kind of I don't know how that works, but it sounds like you're kind of involved with them in the region or the geography that you're based in. How does that work then?
Yeah, so the Founder Institute is the largest pre-seed accelerator in the world, and they have chapters in many cities. I think almost 200 cities around the world, and one of the cities is Cologne, which is next to Bonn. And for example, they have a chapter in London, they have a chapter in Berlin, Madrid, and all those big cities around the world. And so they bring, basically they have this huge knowledge base in this program, and they provide support, and they bring directors, local entrepreneurs, who then organize basically this accelerator. And I'm one such person. The idea is that you then create the startup environment, and then help bring new startups, people who have ideas, you help them basically bring their idea to life in the most efficient way possible, and also give them the network to do that. So because as I said, once you graduate the Founder Institute, you're part of this huge network, and also you have mentors in each city, and you actually, you can, when you go somewhere, let's say if I go now to London and I just call or contact a director there, they're gonna feel like, we're from the same tribe, so let's have a coffee, and how can I help you? And so that's pretty cool.
Okay, so you kind of you're effectively, you're kind of acting as a representative for that particular geography and trying to create a community around that
community builder, in a way.
Okay, fantastic. Yes, I mean, so I suppose but one of the questions I got for you was about I suppose some of the topics you focus on, was because what I noticed was that there's that classic phrase, right? Build it and they will come. Yeah, which I know that you maybe have used that recently. Maybe I've seen that.
I used it recently. You've seen my workshop, haven't you?
I haven't. Oh, maybe I've been sneak peek. So because there's this thing about depending on what the background of the founder is, obviously identify. They come up with an idea. They identify a problem, and then they maybe start working on the keyboard. Yeah, depending on their background, and then then the fun begins, as I would call it, when they actually then have to go and get out of the office, and go and talk to customers and validate their idea, validate their hypotheses, and then actually get things called traction. So and then it gets really quite fun, as they say, or maybe not fun, or maybe not quite what they thought it was going to be. So so what would be? I mean, obviously that's a very big topic, but what would be your pearls of wisdom that you could share with today's people that are listening to this episode? What did you find? Is there some common kind of mistakes or common patterns that people go down, or dead ends they go down? What would be your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, the common pattern is, as you said, people come up with ideas, start working on it, create something out of it, and then go out and figure out that no one wants to buy it, no one understands it, and they start to be frustrated, because for them this is the perfect solution. Everyone should get it. It's obvious, what is it doing and how helpful it is. But the other way that is the better way to go about it is, okay, you have an idea, but then first go and talk to people and see what they think, and start to kind of plan things and to like make a map and figure out, okay, what kind of value am I going to bring? Not only what kind of features and not only what kind of problem, but also who else is solving this problem right now and how are they solving it? Because for many people, they might have a problem. It might not be very important for them to solve it, or like if it requires a lot of effort, or if they don't have the time or the mind to go and learn a new tool, that's all something that's going to be in your way, and you have to think about it in advance. So pearls of wisdom. Just don't jump in before you thought well about it, because you're going to spend valuable time and money on something that probably is not going to be what you think it's going to be.
And
So
why do
yeah.
you think that? Why do you think that happens then? Why? Because that's not, you know, that phenomenon has happened. It seems to repeat. It's like you're going, like you're in a little circle.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we all have this bias that we think everyone thinks like us, everyone has the same knowledge as us,
Right.
everyone has the same problems as us, which is not the case. People live in a different context. Even if they live in the same environment, they have a different context, they have a different needs and interests and everything, and you should account for that. So rule number one: don't assume people are thinking like you. Ask them what they think, and ask them, according to them, what the problem is, or how would they solve this problem that you're trying to solve with your solution.
Right.
Maybe there's an easier way to do it, so just asking and talking to people.
So one of the things that I mean, I presume you're a fan of Eric Ries, the Lean Startup movement.
Yes, yeah.
So I had Etienne Garbouli on the show the other week. He about 10 years ago he had a startup, and then he followed the Lean Startup. And his biggest learning was that he was trying to sell or trying to grow a company which was in the B2B space, business to business space, rather than B2C. And then that spawned him to learn the Lean Startup's more, well, in his view, more B2C orientated.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
A lot of the use cases, a lot of examples are more B2C, obviously consumer. And then he wrote the book Lean B2B, because his learnings around that. And what he was saying was it's in the B2B space, which is really interesting to read that book. It's about partly about relationships, because in the business to business side, you've got to go to market in a slightly different way. I mean, I suppose is that something you've seen as well, in that kind of that variation between the startups you're working in, or B2C versus B2B?
Absolutely. I mean, B2C, I mean, in both businesses you need to have trust in the other party, but in B2B there's this whole process that the other company has, and that you're asking them basically to change this process, and that's a big ask. So it takes longer to convince them why. You need to also go into smaller steps. So B2B is known to take much longer. The sales funnel takes much longer. There are a lot more decision makers, which you have to talk with. It's not just one person. Like if it's a consumer company, you just sell to the person you talk to. But in B2B, you have to sell to many of the stakeholders there and different teams.
Could be it could be a group of people. It could be many people. It could be tens of people making a decision. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so actually it's a very good idea for this book, the Lean B2B, because it is different than B2C. But as you said, trust is very important. And a lot of people or like there's this saying that a person decides whether they're going to buy from you in the first 10 seconds they see you, if they like you. It doesn't matter what you say. If they like you, sooner or later, they'll be ready to buy from you, as long as they have this need or problem.
Right.
So it is very important to be open and to don't try to lie to people. Yeah.
Which is back to what you say, is building trust and relationship.
Yeah.
It's important. Yeah, I mean, so in the work that you're doing now, I suppose is part of your mission to try and educate and upskill people in how to do this better, because it sounds like that there is. I suppose my analogy would be is it like a desert? Yeah, you got no water, or is it the land of milk and honey, where basically you get to that product market fit, and you get to people, because the biggest thing obviously is people prepared to pay for that product or service. Then that's just starting to give you some indication that you've actually got some level of engagement and traction, and they can see value in what you're offering. Is that?
Yeah, well, Yes, and no, but mostly yes. So I don't teach people how to gain trust, as a personality. That's up to them, and I'm not a personality or mindset coach. But I do teach them how to bring value to those people, and how to be authentic in offering that value, and how to be clear in their desire to solve this problem, and why this problem actually is important, and what are the consequences if you don't solve it. So this is things that you can also gain trust, from the other person when you're like straightforward about things. But it's more like on the business side and on the product side rather than on the personality side. But again, I try to also work with people whom I trust and who are not trying to, those salesy type, the bad one type of people. So I also pick in the people I work with, and so they are in general trustworthy people. And I think the trustworthy people are going to be the ones who are going to look for ways to show the value, show why this is good, and live up to whatever they're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so but I think one of the things, the other dimensions I was going to ask you about was competition. So if you look, I know something you shared recently, well, a while ago, was about that famous book about how Google works. The kind of the visual illustration of that.
That was the presentation. Yeah.
When Eric Schmidt joined, and
the
kind of all his, you could say, his biases and his preconceptions about how a business should run from his Nobel days. He kind of completely turned it on its head when he was talking to the founders of Google. Well, what's your view on competition? I mean, because they've got a certain view on competition in Google as well, haven't they? It's quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the takeaways in the book are very simple and obvious, and it's usually the hard part is executing them, right? Because things are not so kind of hard to see where the problem is. It's more about, okay, what do we do about it? But in terms of competition, there are two types. It's either your direct competition. So let's say you have an app, and this app is a time tracker. Your direct competition is other time trackers, right? And how are you better than them? But you also have the alternative competition, or the true competition, which is, what other ways are there to track your time? Maybe you can simply use your watch, or maybe you can simply look at the clock on the wall, or there are other ways. So
the hacks.
Yeah. So what are those alternatives that a person is gonna, when they think about, okay, you want to measure your time, shall I download that app, or shall I simply do whatever I always do? What is this thing that you always do? What is this most simple, most effortless
What's
thing?
the instinctive? What's the instinctive way to do it?
Yeah, exactly, instinctive. And then when you figure that one out, you need to see, how are you better, and why, why someone should choose you and not choose that much easier, simple way.
Right.
So that's what's important for competitions. And once you have that figured out, you can even decide, the ways to grow, like in which direction should you further develop your product. In which market should you expand? Maybe you're not approaching the right market. Maybe there's a different segment out there of people who actually need your solution a lot more. So all those things are interconnected, and they're very important.
Which implies then, as an evolution of that conversation, is a bit like market research.
Yeah.
So is that where you find that maybe sometimes people don't spend enough time on, when they want to grow, but they don't do enough work on where could you grow, and they make assumptions based on their history of where you could grow, when actually the barriers to entry or the competitive intensity in that market is maybe too high. I don't know. Is that fair as well?
Yeah, very often people don't do enough research. Kind of research is even skipped. Oh, we don't have time for research. We already know. We are the users of the app. We know best. Everyone thinks like us. It's obvious. That's a problem, right? But I think also many people have heard this phrase, "start with the user," and they actually start with the user, absolutely ignoring the context of their product. So it's kind of like I think they first need to make the connection between where their product is right now, which user are they targeting right now, what's the connection between those two, and then decide, okay, shall we change the product, shall we change the user, how do we change those two things together, first look around and then decide, instead of go directly to the user and don't account for what you've already created and your idea and your direction of development. So that's what I'm thinking.
So try and understand the segment of the customers you're targeting, and then the features that would appeal to that particular.
Yeah, try to understand your market context first. Try to understand then the user context, and then yes, think from the user side. Of course, as I said, think what the user perceives as a problem and as a solution. But when you make your decisions, which way to develop, how to change, you have to first connect those two. I mean, they are connected. Unless you start from zero and you don't have any idea on your mind, you have to do this.
So this is this thing where I think you call connecting the dots. Is that
connecting
right?
the dots? Yeah. This is how I decided to call my program and my workshops. It's kind of been coming from also, Steve Jobs, his famous speech, I think it was in Stanford. He was saying about connecting the dots. He was telling those stories looking back. You can also connect the dots looking back. Here, the idea is more from the business, and you can connect the dots if you actually analyze, where you stand, who are your competitors, who are you targeting, and then plot them all together and kind of connect them. And this helps you grow. So I really like this name, connecting the dots, because you have to connect them, right?
No, it's good because it's also links to kind of a really good strategy book that I've read, many times, and I think it's probably it's on your bookshop as well, which is Blue Ocean Strategy. Yeah.
Actually, I one big part of what I'm teaching is coming from that book. It's about basically plotting yourself compared to your competitors and seeing where you stand and how to improve.
Yeah,
it's a great book. I absolutely recommend it. And unfortunately, when it was not written for tech startups or tech companies. It was for like wine companies or Cirque du Soleil and other types of ones. So I'm using it in the aspect of tech companies.
Maybe there's an opportunity there. Wink, wink.
Maybe, yeah.
You heard it here first on the G&T Sessions podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's really good. No, thank you for sharing that, because I think that there was definitely some jewels in there, because I think it is that thing, depending on what people's backgrounds are, it's like, how do they get the help and advice, and how, if people have walked down that path before, then they don't have to keep going down some dead ends. They can actually walk through the path or the forest a lot easier and get to the other side of the forest, and not get lost in the forest. Yeah,
I mean, there is a methodology. You cannot figure out everything, and nothing is guaranteed, but there is a method you can follow, like a step process, like dots you can try to connect, and then you can see how to connect them, and that saves time. It's just and not only time, also effort, money, disappointment, and many other things.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose so. I mean, that's thanks for sharing that. It's very, very interesting. I mean, I think it's I'll be interested to see how that develops. Maybe you end up having the connecting the dots, mastermind, or the connecting the dots. Well, so it's a masterclass you're doing, isn't it? Connecting the dots, isn't it?
Yeah. Right? So there's a course where I teach 2 times per week for 4 weeks. There is a workshop that is like the speed up version for 2 days, and someday there will be also a mastermind, but we're not there yet. But I will let you know if you're interested.
Well, it's like a Fast and Furious version in 2 days.
Yeah, Fast and Furious, yeah. Just straight to the point.
Hopefully not with Vin Diesel appearing. Yeah.
Oh.
No, it's interesting. So I mean, in terms of if you go back on the kind of your aspirations. So if you look, we're now in 2020. What have you got any 10-year goals? What would you like to have? How many people would you like to impact with what you're working on today?
I don't really give myself such goals. I more like give myself direction, and then I just work as hard as I can in that direction, and I'll see where I go. It's like they say aim for the sun. It's more like the direction to the sun, right? You're not actually aiming at the sun. It's just the direction. So I'm trying to do that and just work hard. No excuses. But also, I must say, you were an early riser, right? I think you told me.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
I like to get my sleep 8 hours. It's very important for me to rest, and I noticed that how much faster my brain works. So I'm sleeping, working. Yeah, this is my schedule.
Well, sleeping, working, and then coming on podcasts. See, there you go.
Yeah.
That's your playtime. So in terms of the, I mean, in the predictions, yeah, I mean, you know that. So in terms of what you can see, you know, if we're now in 2020, what could happen in 5 years, 10 years, 25 years? I mean, obviously there's some interesting characters in the tech industry and in generally in business terms that are obviously being incredibly influential in the impact on people's thinking around what's the future of technology. You know, I mean, I was talking to Patrick from Samsung about the future of AI, right? And he came out with some very interesting quotes. So, I mean, what's your view on that? Have you got any view of tech in the future? Are you scared of that, or are you kind of like embracing it? Or any thoughts?
I choose to embrace it, even though, of course, I mean, it can it can go both ways. And there is a great book on that topic by Yuval Harari. It's called Homo Deus. It's a second book from like in a, let's say, order. The first one is called Homo Deus, which looks into the past and explains, how we developed as humans in terms of society, communication, why things happen a certain way. And then Homo Deus speaks about, now that we're here, what are the potential paths for the future? What can come? And he kind of develops it in a very scary direction. And then he says, this is one way things can develop, but it can also develop in another way. And we're in the position right now to make that decision. Which direction are we going to develop? Just because there's an opportunity for a bad development, it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it doesn't mean we should forget about this opportunity. So I'm thinking, I'm agreeing with him, and I think, yes, things might get ugly, but I think there's enough people out there who are conscious about it and who are thinking about improving the world and who are not going to let that happen. So I choose to be, positive about the future. I'm really looking forward to some flying cars. I think it's going to be awesome.
Flying cars?
Flying cars, yeah. I know there are already a couple of startups in development, but it's going to be a while until they come to, mainstream usage and production.
Why do you like flying cars?
I don't know. It's just very futuristic, and I like flying. Like I want someday to fly on this F-18 Hornet or something like that, like those fast airplanes.
Yeah, but if you see the cartoon from the 50s or the 60s, the Jetsons.
Yeah, the Jetsons.
They already have flying cars. You see, so they're already here.
Yeah, maybe. So yeah, I am excited about the future, and I'm very happy that technology is allowing so many people to improve their lives and get better off at the end.
Yeah, I mean it's yeah. I mean there's a very interesting film that's coming out in September, which is its impact on big tech, on data and everything like that. It's called The Social Dilemma.
Okay.
So I'd check it out on Netflix in September.
Okay, I'll check it out.
One of my previous guests, Joe Toscano, has been involved in it, and it looks extremely interesting as a piece of movie history. I think it will be. So.
You mean movie history, like when we look 20 years back, this is going to be the reality, the history.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like I mean, I've spoken to a few guests about things like Terminator, right? So you look at that, Rise of the Machines, Skynet, and how long ago were those movies created with good old Arnold, and you look at some of the things that have happened recently, and you go, ooh, it's like it's a bit too close to the script of those kind of movies. So yeah, it's quite interesting.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, hackers are, kind of taking over networks and hacking accounts and things, but this thing cannot cannot transfer into the physical world. Maybe with drones, right? But not with anything else so far for the moment. So I think it's still science fiction, and this AI hype that everyone is talking about for the moment is just a hype, in my opinion. And we're still very far away from real damaging implications.
Well, I suppose Patrick said that whatever you think that AI is not here is, it's already, AI is early, it's already here. Basically, it's already embedded in what we're doing. So
maybe we're all part in a simulation.
Yeah, exactly. Don't be scared because it's already here. It's already happened. So
yeah.
That was his kind of a pep talk in that episode. So in terms of, I suppose one of the things to ask you, I suppose, in terms of advice. So you obviously are working with lots of people that have different stages of their growth journey, and you're obviously helping them along their path. What would be the kind of the advice or guidance? What would be some big takeaways that you would share for them to think about? If they listen to this episode, that they should really internalize and reflect on and think about as they go down their path.
Yeah. Okay. I'd say learn to become a great learner, because that's the skill you need to have, and that's gonna help you learn faster, learn many things, and really be always up to date with whatever is going on. So being a good learner is a skill I think everyone should work on to develop. Second one that I've been following myself is whenever I come up to a hard decision where I'm not sure what's the right thing, and it's kind of emotionally too heavy, I'm trying to imagine I'm 8 years old. I'm looking back. What am I thinking? What is the decision that I would have preferred to have made at that point of time? And then just do it, because this is the right thing to do. Very often it's better to do something than to regret not doing it. So I'm up for kind of trying things out on your own. And the third thing is learn to also change your to kind of not put yourself and your opinion in the same boat, and kind of glue yourself to your opinion. So if, for example, there's this, I think it's a funny story or something, a joke, but I cannot quite say it, but I'm going to paraphrase. It's two people talking. I think they were politicians or something like that. And one of them was having this opinion. And then new facts came up. And so he said, I'm going to change my opinion. Now I'm saying this. And then people questioned him, okay, so why are you changing your opinion? I mean, you were saying this and now this, how can we trust you? And he said, well, excuse me, what do you do when you learn something new? Like, do you still keep to your own opinion, even though it's wrong? No, you should change. And this is what I think it's important to do, to learn to differentiate between who you are and what you kind of think at the moment, because that is going to change, and that's normal. And that doesn't lower the value of yourself or your self-worth. So those are the three things I would like to share from my own experience.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's our last one is like, keep your mind open to evolving your opinion.
Yeah, but especially when you already shared it with someone, then you feel like you have to defend it no matter what. But when you learn something new, the right thing to do is to readjust. Okay, what I thought is not exactly right. This is the right way to think about it. So kind of be ready to readjust your opinion. It's not so important to stick to whatever you said one time in time. So yeah, I think that's valuable.
So I think thanks for sharing those, because I think the second one obviously is a bit like. So just a quick question on the why do you say 8-year-old? What is there a particular
80 like 70, 80, like old man, old person.
No, but if you're saying that if you. So you were saying that if you go back to being an 8-year-old, you say, on your second one, you were saying about the. Put yourself in, if you were 80 years old, what would you do?
Yeah, so let's say I have a problem right now and I don't know what to do about it. And then in my mind, I'm thinking, what would I think about this problem and what is the right thing to do if I was 8-year-old and I look back in my
Okay.
memory and I'm
Okay.
like, okay, what was the right thing to do in that
Right.
situation
Okay.
from
Yeah.
the
Okay.
standpoint of an 8-year-old?
Okay. Okay. So it's a bit like do the right thing, basically.
Yeah, because
Okay.
there you remove all kind of connection to the current reality, emotional
Mm,
heaviness, and those things.
mm.
So then you figure out what's the right thing.
It's a bit like tapping into your future wisdom. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. There you go. That was some pearls of wisdom. All,
I'm
yeah,
happy.
flying all the way flying only between Berlin and Bonn, obviously today, because obviously we're both in Germany.
Well, maybe, hopefully, they're gonna fly further away now with this podcast.
Fly all over the world.
Let's spread it. Let's just spread it everywhere.
So I do have a final question, which is a sneaky surprise question for you. You see,
Okay.
but sometimes this kind of doesn't work out because then I find out because obviously some people think actually the G&T session is about growth and technology, but also some people think it's about the gin and tonic as well. You see, the question for me for the final bit was: do you actually drink alcohol?
I do. Yeah, I
Oh, you
drink.
do? Oh, right, you do. Okay.
Not so much, but I do.
So, do you have a favorite gin brand?
No, I don't have one because I mostly like drinking beer, and I guess that's why I'm living in Germany. But I do have gin and tonic tea, and I think it's
Okay.
coming from London. Have you tried something like that before?
No, I haven't actually. Which one's that then? I don't know that one.
Oh, I don't know the name of the brand, but I'm sure there are not so many of those. So if
Gin
you
and tonic
just Google
tea.
for gin and tonic tea, you
Oh
can
wow.
find it. And it tastes like warm gin and tonic. So I guess it's good for winter.
And there's no ice cubes, obviously, because it's too
No
hot.
ice cubes, no. Or maybe you can make it an iced tea. I don't know.
Okay. I'll have to investigate that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh wow. You
Something new
surprised me.
for you.
That's good. Thank you for that. That's good. I
Yeah, you're
like that.
welcome.
Yeah, there's been obviously people that are teetotal on this show, and obviously people who don't drink alcohol because of their background and stuff like that. But yes, we have and then obviously there's the hard drinkers as well. Obviously, as I mentioned to you before, unfortunately, I was on a plane when I conceived the G&T sessions coming back from America. So obviously, I was having a G&T at 40,000 feet in the air. So
it's a very good name, and G&T. It sounds like gin. It's a good one. Yeah, definitely very memorable. Or maybe you should even change your logo to be like a glass with gin somehow. Like
that'd be too obvious. I'm trying to be subtle. You say, trying to be.
Oh, don't make people think. You have to be obvious.
Oh dear. All right. Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Another pearl of wisdom from Eva. So thank you for coming on the show today. It's been wonderful to spend some time with you, and then thank you. I know you're a busy lady doing all your workshops and your webinars and your masterclasses. So if people do want to get hold of you and find out where they can find you, what's the best way of finding what you do and maybe getting some help from you?
I'm on the most social media channels. You just write my name, Eva Dimitrova, and you'll probably find me. Otherwise, you can send me an email at eva@evadimitrova.com. Obvious, my website, my name. So evadimitrova.com is my website. I try to post regularly. I try to write and do things that are interesting for people in the startup space. So if you find something that you like, let me know. If you want me to do something, also let me know. I'll be happy to get more ideas and feedback. And Andrew, thank you very much for taking me on your show. It's a great pleasure to spend time with you and have such a nice chat.
No, it's fantastic. Thank you for coming on the show. And it's so what you're saying is, but just the final bit was you don't have any physical. You can work anywhere in the world. So because of this new virtual world we live in.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're not just working on things in Germany.
I as long as they're in my time zone. I don't want to work in 3 a.m. in the morning. But basically the States and Europe and maybe part of Asia, Africa. Is in the time zone for me, so I can work with people from those places. And that's the plus when you work remotely. You can be really flexible. You don't have to fly there.
exactly. We can kind of fly there virtually, yeah, in our virtual
exactly.
helicopters.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. That was Emma Dimitrova of Connecting the Dots and various other little projects she's working on at the moment. But thank you for coming on the show. And that was Andrew Turner, founder and host of the G&T Sessions podcast. And have a wonderful day. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.